Hey, okay, so I got this to go live on mobile. Now all I need to do is find out where I'm broadcasting so I can link people. Here we go. Let's click in here. Seeing myself on the screen, okay, but I've got the link, copy, and paste. And now I'm going to grab my other iPad to see. Oh, actually, I can just do it right here. There we go. Link to the person who I gave moderator privileges to. So that works. Let me look at this here. So I should be able to see chat messages come up here. I'm not sure. So I also have this open over here. Okay, so the chat can come up here on my computer off to the side. But I wanted to give people a couple of minutes to actually show up. I just went live. I said sometime between 12 and 1. It's 10 after 12. And the sounds you're hearing to the right of me are my kitty cat. His name is Timothy Jellybean. Because when he was really tiny, he fit in my hand and he looked like a curled up little jelly bean. I'm drinking my favorite coffee, which is actually Starbucks coffee. I get it fresh ground. Hi, I see you. Awesome. The chat does come up on the screen. That's perfect. That's better than doing it on the computer the way I was before. I had to have the chat screen open. I'm having my favorite type of coffee right now. The coffee is from Starbucks and they fresh grind it for you in the store. And I really like that. It's a lot better than getting that Maxwell House stuff that I've lived off of for years. I get a big old case and it's like bitter halfway through. So I like getting the smaller quantities. And I use sugar, of course, because I have a major sweet tooth, and peppermint creamer, which I wish you could find it year round, but it seems to only be openly available during the holidays. And the flavor I'm vaping on is kiwi mango. I also have a little list of questions here that I wrote down just in case there aren't a lot of people that show up. I only took down 15 questions because I figured if it's not a super busy chat here, pardon, if it's not super busy, I'm not going to run this for a long time. And that's okay. You can tell me the comments in private. But I took down 15 questions and I figured I can just answer them. Just want to give people a couple minutes to notice that they've been tagged on Facebook. It would probably be good if I shared this on Instagram too, but I'm not really going to worry about that. Instagram isn't one of my bigger platforms. And on that note, I'm going to do one of the questions here, and I'll cross them off as I come across them. So I'm not doing them in the order I wrote them down. And the first question is, how often do I use social media? When did you first notice that you were different than the norm? Okay, well, that actually ties into this. Social media is something that helps me know that I have people around me that are different like myself. I knew I was different when I was a kid, and not in a good way. It was sort of rudely introduced into my life that I'm abnormal. There was a girl named Taryn that I was friends with when I was like 6, 7 years old. But as I got around ages 8 or 9, suddenly I didn't see her anymore, and I wondered why. So I talked to my stepmother, And apparently Taryn had gone to her mom and said, "Why is that girl weird? I don't want to be her friend." Thanks. That was a crushing disappointment because I thought that she and I were friends, but she saw me as weird. And a lot of people have throughout my life, from very young ages to recently. And it's only recently that I've become more comfortable with being weird. And I think the internet has a lot to do with that. Because there are other people around me outside of the usual society. Good job, Ivy. Nice to see you here. Because there are other people like myself online on social media, I found myself a family of sorts online, and I have become way more confident over the years. I used to be very shy and withdrawn. In fact, my one friend likes to tell the story of how we met. Basically, I was being bullied, and she didn't like that. And I did her homework so that she would protect me. There was even a kid named CJ that she beat upside the head with the science book to get him to leave me alone. And she helped me to find my style and everything too. Watching the Facebook app? Yeah, I was going live here on YouTube, not on Facebook. I could see how you would think it might be on Facebook, but I decided to do this because I have 100 subscribers. And honestly, even if it's just you two here while I make this, it'll still post afterwards to my YouTube so people can come back and watch it. So that's why I decided to have this little list of questions that can be asked. And what I was saying about social media, I don't have a Twitter. I have an Instagram, but I barely use it. I like being here on YouTube. I like being able to share my stories and my thoughts and my experiences. I promise to do what I can to help you blow up. You definitely have things for people to hear and learn from. Thank you. I feel like a lot of my videos are kind of just noise that I needed to get out of my head. I have this need to express myself. But when I actually sit down, put my mind to it, and make a video, I come up with some pretty good content. I'm actually trying to come up with a script for a borderline personality disorder video. And thank you for being a fan and a friend for life. I appreciate that. It's weird for me to know that I have fans. I do. I've had someone randomly donate to me through PayPal that shows that they care for me and want to support me, and it's very weird, but I'm happy. I do feel that I have things that I can share, like I said, with the borderline personality disorder video I'm thinking up. It's because a friend of mine is currently going through some difficulties, and a lot of the things that they have issues with are things that I personally had issues with while I was suffering from borderline. I'm actually considered cured of it now. It's no longer one of my diagnoses. I also have my medical marijuana, so at some point I'm going to be taking a hit off of that. But for how often I use social media, I definitely use it every single day. Thanks. It's colorful, and I would be taking swigs of some booze, but my bottle's empty. Ivy, this is a delicious red wine. It's really good with brick oven pizza, barbecue, and grilled meats, which really works well for me because when I drink, I like Domino's. Sangria is good too. I'm not a big drinker. my medications don't interact well with alcohol. So when I do drink, it has to be at very specific times. And I have to monitor when I am going to. I plan ahead of time so that I know it's not going to interact with my medication. It's good, it's cheap, it's only like $9 a bottle. And yeah, careful with the kind that comes in a box. But I've had cheaper, worse alcohol. I've had gallon jugs of vodka for $10. That tasted like battery acid. I was not in a good point in my life. When you're drinking $10 gallons of vodka, you're not in a good point in your life. Do I answer taboo questions? Well, to an extent. I would share things such as preferences in like the BDSM kink world, definitely, but I wouldn't go so far as to describe sexual encounters I've had. But taboo also doesn't always mean sexual. I like some strange, offensive humor, so it's worth giving it a shot. I'm willing to answer just about anything within limits. You know, there's certain things that, like I said, with discussing a sexual event in my life, that involves another person, and it's not really right for me to tell that story without permission. But if you're asking about myself, I'm very open to it. I think that sex positivity is very important. I actually identify now as asexual, meaning I don't have interest in sex and I don't get horny, but I'm willing to answer opinions that are, you know, a little lighter. As long as it's not too much detail, I'm fine with it. Okay, go ahead, give me your question. Pros and cons of sex work. Well, I've actually been in sex work, so I can definitely say some of this. I'm going to start with the cons first because that's a lot of what we hear about, especially with the SESTA and FOSTA Act that's going on right now. I'll answer that real quick. What do you think about sex on the first date? Go for it if you want to. Really. Sex is pleasurable. It doesn't even have to be, hi Jackie! Sex doesn't even have to be something that you think too much about. A lot of people put high priority on virginity, but honestly, get yourself some experience. You don't have to be deeply involved with someone. Just use protection. Casual sex with protection is fine. And as for the pros and cons of sex work, the cons are that it is very dangerous. If you cannot properly vet your clients, which is something that's happened with SESTA and FOSTA, you have difficulties in protecting yourself, keeping yourself safe. You might have to be going out with a knife in your boot, and that's not good. You know, having some person paying you for a service that's stripping or straight up sex, I think prostitution should be legalized. That comes with its own health risks because of bodily contact, possible fluid exchange. But when you're like me, you're 5'1", you're a little girl, and you're going out with these men that are 6 feet, and you know they could hurt you if they wanted to, that's scary. Yes, those laws are a huge step backwards for sex workers because in the past you could go onto Backpage, for instance, and post, this is what I will do, this is what I will not do. These are my prices, these are my conditions. And people would agree to that, and you could talk to them and find out if you feel safe before you interact with them. Plus, for people who did non-intercourse, aka legal sex work, they could tell people, I don't do intercourse. But by taking away that vetting process, it's pushing women back to the streets. and they don't have the same power, and every single encounter is a possibility of danger. The pros of sex work are that I feel personally it was very liberating, not just in a social justice way, but I got to be my own boss. I didn't have a pimp. I did this myself. I chose who I was willing to see. I chose what I was willing to do. I chose the prices. So, because of that amount of power over my life, I felt empowered. I felt that I had a say in what I was doing and where I was going. Back to the cons, it's hard to get justice if you have been assaulted. For instance, if a non-intercourse sex worker gets raped, a lot of the times it'll be like, well, what do you expect working in that sort of industry? But it's not right. Someone can be a prostitute and still be raped. It's not part of the job description to be sexually assaulted. When prostitution is legalized, it protects the women. There are STD checks, and they keep track of the Johns and the Janes. That's the term for a female sex worker client. And it's safer. They get to say, well, this person has been rough on clients. They're not allowed back here. And then that woman doesn't have to worry about a scary encounter with an unwelcome client. I'm wearing my waist trainer, so if I get a little winded, that's why. And I think, yep, my nail is breaking. Great. Every time I think, yes, the government oppresses everything. Every time I think my nails are growing, one of them breaks. Oh, knocking things down. Yeah, I like it. Let me just... I don't wear it every single day, but I've moved it back to the middle instead of pulling it in as tight as I can go, because when it pulls in as tight as it can go, I feel more digging here. It's breathable latex, so that's why it's got this design on it, so that I can have a little less sweating, but it keeps me a lot warmer. I don't wear it every single day like I'm supposed to, and it's way more comfortable than you would expect. It also helps me to stand up straighter and sit straighter up, so it's good for my back. It actually gives me back support, and that's really good. That's something I've never had, was like a back brace or anything. The cat's knocking stuff over. And having scoliosis in 2 places, which I didn't know was possible, and a herniated disc means my back hurts a lot and it could use some support. It's, hey, I recognize your name, Jack the Ripper. I'm not going to remember everyone that shows up, but I remember a lot of the names. I apologize for, not remembering exact specifics of conversations and stuff like that, but I recall you in my comments. And yeah, definitely the back support, that was something I didn't really expect, I guess. Like, I should have expected it, but there's a big difference between when I have it on and when I have it off. When I have it off, I'm like this, but when I have it on, I naturally sit up straighter and taller, and I feel like I look like I grew an inch in my pictures when I'm wearing it. It doesn't really cause a problem while eating. It can make you eat a little bit less because it's constrictive, but one time I went to burp while wearing the waist trainer and I brought up vomit. So that was a little unsettling. It's harder to burp while wearing a waist trainer. Yes, I am growing my hair longer. Okay, if I was arrested with no explanation, what would my friends and family assume you had done? They would probably assume that I beat the shit out of someone. Because, yes, I'm planning on growing my hair long like my red hair wig. As long as possible. I'm going to get clip-ins to make it more voluminous. But there are a few people in my life that deserve to get the shit beat out of them for things they've done to me and to my family. So if I were to just randomly go to jail, no reason, no explanation, I'm pretty sure that's what my family would think. Especially because I've actually had a lot of anger issues in the past. Mini story time. I got kicked out of school for terroristic threats. So there was a kid in school that annoyed the crap out of me. That's the cat again. Yep. He's just knocking everything over. And this kid, he was one of the jocks that was always partying on the weekends. And I was the goth back then, still the goth now. And he would be like, oh, you going to that party this weekend? Oh, no, you're not cool. And then, I love my kitty. His name is Timothy Jellybean. And I told him to shut the fuck up or I would put an ice pick through his forehead. So I got expelled for terroristic threats. But it was a blessing in disguise because I then got to do homeschooling and I finally was able to get good grades. Now, let me look over here because these comments go away too fast. So, Hanford, just so you know, you look pretty cute with that red hair, even though it's supposed to be a wig. Continue with that. Thank you. I do like myself as a redhead. This is fading already. I think I'm going to go for a more orangey red next time. When I touch it up, just because I think I have the skin tone to pull it off. What's happening with my connection? Tap, tap. Tap, tap. Can you see me? It stopped moving. You can still hear me, okay. Well, I'll just keep reading off the little comments while it's visually paused. So, he is not a Bengal, he is just a tabby, but I love his markings. The unwritten rules of where I work. Well, I'm disabled, so yeah, let me see. Why is it paused? And of course I'm doing a derp face. Hopefully it'll unfreeze. I'm disabled, so I don't really have a job. I consider going to the doctors to be my job. So the unwritten rule is to not self-diagnose. Take your symptoms to the doctor, but do not self-diagnose because you run into trouble thinking you have problems when you really don't. The power of your mind is very strong and you can even pretty much will yourself into being sick. I really wish I could get this to unfreeze. I don't know why it's doing this, guys. Come on. Frozen. Let's see. YouTube live stream stuck and freezing. Yeah, it's frozen from my end. I'm trying to figure this out. Alright. I experience the same thing with the same device. It's frustrating because sometimes the only way to fix it is to stop the stream, which ends the event and creates a new one. I wish YouTube live streaming gave you a way to stop streaming without killing the event. I haven't been impressed with this. Works terribly. Blah, blah, blah. So it looks like I would have to literally restart this. But I'm just going to kind of keep talking because the questions are still coming in. Who knows? Maybe it'll unfreeze. From King, what's the weirdest thing a guest has done at your house? Well, I used to party a lot. And this one time, I had a lifted up bed, like a loft bed. And the person I was with got a little more drunk than the rest of us. And he was pretty much passed out on the loft bed. Out of nowhere, he just sits bolt upright in the bed, says something that none of us can understand, and then really panicked, dives off the bed onto the floor. And he's just pretty much rolling around on the floor, yelling gibberish that none of us can understand. Why did it have to freeze? Yeah, definitely, man down. We were all cracking up. We didn't know what was going on. It was like a swan dive off the bed. He actually could have, like, really hurt himself, and he's lucky that he didn't. I really can't believe this is frozen. Should I try restarting it? This is frustrating. I'm taking a hit of my weed from the bowl real quick. Why did it freeze? Should I just restart it? Or just keep talking? Because I've got more questions written down. What set of items could you buy that would make the cashier the most uncomfortable? Well, this depends on what store you're going to. I think it's a little easier to pull off if you go to a Home Depot. I feel like a toilet plunger, some lubricant, and some rope ties. You know the cable ties that you use in like the bed of a truck. A little stronger than normal. Okay, in a regular store, cucumber, eggplant, gloves. Moving up in size incrementally. Convenience store. Convenience stores, let's see. I'm thinking about the one by me. Some duct tape, condoms, and thumbtacks. But as you're going up to the register, open up the condoms and pour the thumbtacks inside the condom. Just see what the hell he's not going to know what's going on. There's no rhyme or reason. Hey, how Mama Rays. I don't know. It froze up and it's not unfreezing. Who do you know that really reminds you of a character in a TV show or movie? That's hard. You see, I don't have a lot of close friends in the local area. I have a lot of online friends, and just the types of movies and shows I watch, they don't really relate a lot to my friends. I like to watch like prison documentaries and stuff like that. Um, I don't know, but I personally have felt like I relate a lot to Vanessa Ives. Yeah, I think I should restart it too. I relate a lot with Vanessa Ives and Penny Dreadful because I've had weird, like, psychic type things happen to me. But let me. I think I'm gonna go ahead and try to restart the video. So, everyone here, I'll be restarting it. Hopefully, you can find it again momentarily. So, right now, I'm gonna exit out and I'm gonna start again.